Hi, Paige and Adam.
Hi,
Hi,
Jade.
Jade.
How are you guys going?
Yeah, pretty good.
Pretty good.
That's good. How was your day today?
Not too bad. We were driving back from Ballarat.
Yeah, nice. And what was on in Ballarat?
There was some like it was a show and shine for mental health. So I think it was like all proceeds go to mental health. So we thought we'd go down there and have a bit of a look. And yeah, there was a bit of FMX sort of stuff, a couple motorbikes there. There was what else was there? Harleys and stuff doing monos, and yeah, it was all the cool stuff.
Yeah, nice. Sounds like a really good weekend then for you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's good. So thank you for contacting me and making a start on obviously your wedding plans, which is very exciting. Just before we go any further, I will let you know you will see me during this meeting writing things down. It's just to refer back to later on to obviously draft your ceremony and keep a written record of any information about you guys, your plans, your ceremony, anything like that. So how did you guys hear about me and my celebrancy services?
Yeah, so we heard about you through a friend that recommended you to us.
Client of mine or
Yeah, yep. Previous client of yours, I believe.
perfect. All right, I'll just write that down. And just to confirm, both of you have not been married before. That's what you noted down on your notice of intended marriage form. So obviously it's the first time for both of you guys, which is very, very exciting. And during these interviews and meetings, I like to obviously get to know the couple really well, learn about you two together, how you met, your individual lives, your families, that sort of thing. It gives me a really good picture and helps me draft your ceremony completely tailored to you and your needs. So I will ask a fair few questions. Feel free to interject at any point if you have any information you'd like to share. And then towards the end of the meeting, I'll give you a lot of information about the legal process of marriage, obviously my fees, any documents we need to go through, and just the structure of my services. So to start off with, I guess one of the most important questions, how did you guys meet?
We met when we were quite young, so we met at school actually.
Yeah.
Actually,
And same class or same year
uh,
level or
I think probably just like the same sort of friend group.
yep.
Few classes together. But yeah, I think probably mostly through our friend group.
Yep. And how long have you guys been together?
What is it? Nearly 6 years, so about five and a half years.
Wow.
Long time.
High school sweethearts.
Yeah.
Nice. And when did you guys get engaged?
So that was probably about 12 months ago, um, in the Gold Coast. So yeah, actually, me and Paige went on a holiday. Um, yeah, I just thought it was the right time.
Beautiful. That's really nice. And did you have the whole surprise set up, Adam, with photographer, videographer, or a bit more
Uh,
intimate?
yeah, so I actually got a like one of the boys at work named Coop. He actually does a lot of like he flies drones and stuff over paddocks and whatever. So he actually had his drone out there and videoed the whole thing, which was pretty cool.
Oh, wow. And you've got that to look back on now for future years. So that is very, very cool, Adam, and very romantic of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So moving on a little bit more about you guys. So what do you both do for work? Paige, what do you do?
So I am actually studying nursing, almost finished studying. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and just work in the hospital as a PCA at the moment.
Yep. And Adam, what do you do for work?
I am an apprentice welder, so 4th-year apprentice. Shouldn't have too long to go, but yeah, it's taking.
Wow. So both of you guys are almost finished, which is very exciting for you both, and you're obviously taking the next step in your relationship as well. So you got a lot going on, obviously, at the moment, planning a wedding and study and work. So that's, I guess, where I come in a little bit and try to ease a lot of the stress from you guys about this side of things. So I'll obviously do the best that I can. A little bit more about each one of you. What is your family life like? So siblings, Paige, who's in your family?
Yeah, so I come from a big family. I actually have 10 siblings.
Wow.
And 5 sisters. Yeah.
Yep.
So us.
Yep. And do you live at home, or do you guys live out of home?
I'm living at home again at the moment. I was living in Bendigo, but I've recently moved back home again.
Yep. And what about you, Adam? Who's in your family?
So my mum, my dad, and my brother. So I've only got a family of 4.
Yep.
Yeah, I just stay at Paige's house all the time now. Yeah.
Yep. And just so I can write down on the family thing again, it's really important for me to get names of parents. So Paige, what are your parents' names?
Paula and Chris.
Yep. And Adam, your parents' names as well?
Mick and Vanessa.
Mick and Vanessa. And in terms of your bridal party, have you thought about anyone that you might like to have?
We did have a few people in mind. I'm thinking more family based sort of bridal party, so sisters, sister-in-law.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I'll.
And Adam?
Yeah, I was pretty much the same. Maybe just me brother. I'd probably nearly have me dad, because I'm pretty close with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe just one of me mates, Kai. I'm pretty close with him, so yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Them couple.
So fairly intimate ceremony then for you guys, or
Yeah.
what are you thinking?
Pretty.
Yeah.
Probably not too many guests. Just our closest family and friends.
Yeah. So how many guests do you think there will be, just out of curiosity?
I would say roughly 50 to 60 maybe.
Yeah.
Our
Beautiful.
families are so large.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess it's really hard when you've got a big family to try and cut it right back. It makes it really difficult in that respect. In terms of your witnesses, have you thought about anybody for that role yet?
Again, probably family. Well, for me anyway. One of my sisters, I think.
Yep. And Adam, have you thought about a witness as well, or?
I haven't really thought about it too much, but I'd probably just go, yeah, it'll be someone pretty close to me, maybe like me pop or something, just to try and get him a little more involved on the day.
Yeah, and look, I do hear a lot that particular family members, if they can't include them in any other way in the ceremony, they often will call upon them to be the witness. You just need to make sure that anybody that you do pick is over 18, but obviously if it's your pop, he will be. So that's really the only major requirement, is that they are over 18, and they're obviously in a position to be a witness to the marriage. Do you have a proposed wedding date?
Not at this stage.
Yep.
Still sort of thinking about the date. Haven't really just yet.
Yep. Do you have a month in mind and a year? Are you thinking later this year, or are you thinking into next year?
Probably towards the end of this year, I would say.
Yeah, okay. The only thing I will say about the timing and the date of your wedding is that we need at least a month's notice, which obviously you're not going to be getting married in a month's time, as you've just indicated. But the maximum amount of time you can allow with your notice of intended marriage form is 18 months. But you're obviously within that time frame, so that's fine. So towards the end of this year, so we still do have a little bit of time to get things happening. So I can just put that in here that the date is yet to be confirmed. Do you have a venue in mind for the wedding?
Well, we have a family lake house.
Yep.
At Kangaroo Lake, so we're thinking possibly there.
Beautiful. And is that located near Kerrang or where you guys live? Or
so it's only probably what 20 minute
20-minute drive in between Swan Hill and Kerrang. So
okay, so now is the time during the meeting where we're going to start talking about your actual ceremony and what you guys want as part of your wedding. And just so I can keep it in the back of my mind when I'm drafting your ceremony, are there any special ideas that you've seen perhaps online at other people's weddings? Any rituals, prayers, poems, readings, anything in particular you want included?
So, Paige's sister's partner, Toby, he does a little bit of Indigenous artwork and he's pretty good on the didgeridoo and stuff. So we're just pretty much thinking him at this stage, just to play a little bit on the didgeridoo just at the start or end of the ceremony or something. Just to, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So as like an acknowledgement of country?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Okay, so let me just write this down because this is obviously very important to include. Didgeridoo playing an acknowledgement, and that's Toby, which is Paige's brother-in-law.
Yep.
Brother-in-law. Okay, perfect. Is there any other special requests? This would be anything in regards to entrances, to exits, people included, anyone called upon during the ceremony, anything like that that you can think of right now?
Don't think so, unless there's anything cars or anything with you.
Yeah, I'd love to have me car there, but it's still a bit of a work in progress at the moment. So cool. That would have been cool to get some photos with that or something, but it's a bit of a
yeah. That's all right. You can let me know anyway as we go along. It's more so just as a bit of an idea for me to start with. And I suppose as your celebrant, obviously I need to write and draft your ceremony. And in regards to that, it's a process that takes time to obviously make it completely tailored to the both of you and your story as a couple. I offer a couple of different approaches to this, and some people are a little bit more simplistic than others. That's why I try to tailor and offer as many options as I can. Would you guys prefer a ceremony written from scratch, or would you prefer a ceremony written from a template so you can choose the structure of how you would like things to run on the day?
I think a template would be a bit easier for us, and then we're not having to start from scratch.
Yep, perfect. And a lot of people go that way, and especially when a wedding is very stressful, having something there ready to go, although we do still tailor it to your story as a couple, it just saves that time for you guys going back and forth thinking of what you would like included, whereas the template actually gives you some prompts and some ideas. So that's fine. I can write a note here that you are happy with a templated ceremony. And I suppose what I need from the both of you moving forward is, obviously I know you've told me a little bit about, how you met, how long you've been together, when you got engaged, your family, your work. I know a little bit about you guys, but obviously I don't know the ins and outs of your relationship. So in order to draft a really special and unique ceremony, I need obviously some help from you guys. So moving forward after today, you've got plenty of time to do it, so definitely don't rush. But 2 things I obviously need you to do is, number 1, to start thinking about your vows. So these are your personalised vows. They're not the legal vows that you are legally obliged to say during the ceremony. They're your personal vows that you're really speaking to each other with. So that's something that you can just start perhaps looking at some videos, some ideas about what you want to say to each other. It can be as long or as short as you want, and you can really say anything to each other. And if you need some help, I do have some templates and ideas for that as well, which I can email through. So the first thing would be to start thinking about your vows. The second thing is, I will need you to send me through basically a bigger and much more detailed version of how you met, how long you've been together, obviously your engagement story, some really funny, interesting little stories between the 2 of you, perhaps some inside jokes that you have, or some really intimate, funny things that you'd like to share with others, but perhaps they don't know about the both of you yet. But basically just a snapshot of your relationship, but in a bit more detail, because obviously this will be included into the ceremony. And a lot of people do like to take this opportunity when they're writing this about each other to include a little bit about your family as well. So if there's any contribution that they've made, especially in the younger years, to your relationship, it would be really important for you to include that in your written story. And then that way we can make mention to them during the ceremony script per se. Is there anybody in your life that has passed away that you would like to make mention of during your ceremony?
Yeah, well, obviously all of my grandparents have passed away, so both mum's parents and dad's parents.
Yep.
So yeah, just making a mention to them. Auntie Dawn and Uncle Bryony for my family.
Yep.
And my nan's recently just passed away, so I'd probably have something to do with nan there, or and then when I was a bit younger, my cousin lost his partner in a car accident, so I'd probably have her as well. And it's about really it. I've been pretty lucky so far.
Yeah. Okay. And that's fine. We can include that into your ceremony. Some people like to make quite a big point of this, and other people just like to give it a bit of a soft mention. Just the fact that they're obviously not here, but you want to make mention to them. That's right. Sorry. So that's fine. We can include that in there. You can give me a little bit of information about them in your write-up. So I guess now is probably the time where I'll talk to you a little bit about the structure of the marriage process and what happens from here on in. So basically from today, obviously I've given you a little bit of homework to start thinking about. You can wait until perhaps 2 to 3 months before your ceremony to send that information to me, or you can sort of drip feed it through to me. Either way is fine. If there's any point in time where you feel like you want to hop back onto a Zoom call and just explain something to me or ask lots of questions, just let me know. As your celebrant, I'm available 24/7 virtually. So just let me know. We can organise another Zoom call, phone call. Otherwise, I'll see you in person, I'm sure, before the wedding and the rehearsal. So you've obviously submitted your notice of intended marriage, which is the key piece of documentation we need to get this process and this ball rolling with the wedding. You obviously need to set a date so that I have a date to work on, especially with the NOM form and any other documentation. So that's probably the next big thing you need to organise is when and where. And from there, basically, I just need to draft your ceremony. We'll keep in touch along the way. Closer to the date of your wedding, you'll need to sign a declaration of no legal impediment to marriage, which is a bit of a mouthful. Basically, it means that you're not related, you're free to marry each other, you're over the age of 18. There's basically nothing preventing you two from marrying each other, and you're making a statement about that on this declaration. And obviously, it's a very big deal. You can't have any false or misleading statements on this piece of documentation. So that needs to be done before the wedding, usually about a month before. Some people do it at the rehearsal. We can obviously judge that when we get to it. So that's basically it in terms of the legal documents prior to the wedding. Obviously, on the wedding day, we're doing the signing of the marriage certificates. You'll have a copy to keep. I'll keep a copy. And then obviously there's the marriage certificate that is sent to Births, Deaths and Marriages of Victoria, because that is where you are getting married. So as your celebrant, I obviously draft your ceremony. I'm here to answer any questions you have up until then. I lodge all of your legal documents and I obviously perform your ceremony on the day. So all of my services bundled into one. My fees are $700 plus GST, so it's $770. My payment structure is you pay a $200 deposit up front, and then you'll be sent an invoice 2 weeks before your ceremony for you to pay the rest of that. Just so you've got lots of time, it's paid. I know that obviously I can turn up, there's going to be no issues with money and that sort of thing. And with that, you're not going to be preoccupied with other things before the wedding, because I know how busy and stressful they are. So it's better just to get it out of the way. So that will be sent to you 2 weeks before the wedding ceremony. So that's basically the rundown of my services, legal documentation. The only other really important thing we need to discuss today is obviously relationship support services. So as a celebrant, it's our legal obligation to advise you guys of relationship support services that are out there, whether they be virtual or in close proximity to you guys. So in Kerrang, you've got Northern District Community Health Service. That's at 24 Fitzroy Street in Kerrang. It's open Monday to Friday, 8:30 till 5. They do offer counselling, referrals for counselling, and support groups for you guys. Some other close options would be counsellors such as Christina Williamson. She's at 22 Victoria Street in Kerrang, and she does relationship counselling. Otherwise, if you can't get to someone in person, you can do a telehealth appointment with a lady called Melissa. She's based in Kundrook. So obviously with busy work schedules, nursing and being a tradie, it can get a little bit difficult to get into those appointments. Otherwise, Relationships Australia, their closest centre to you would be Shepparton. So it is a little further away, but that is on offer. And a lot of couples do have, I guess, a bit of an issue at the start with relationship support services. They're a bit confused why we need to tell them about it. Basically, we need to make you aware because as much as we're marriage celebrants and we help you get to the point of marriage, we want to see you have long-lasting and fulfilling relationships. So if there ever comes a time where you run into trouble as a couple, that support is there. It can help you maintain a really healthy relationship. And as much as you think that, you know, you might be going strong, anything can happen in life. So there is support out there if you ever feel like you need it. And if you ever need help locating these people, I'm happy for you to come back to me. Otherwise, shortly I will email you through a brochure and I'll also post it out to you as well. It's called the Happily Ever Before and After brochure. And basically it outlines the obligations and pretty much the consequences of marriage before and after. And it outlines a lot of marriage education and counselling information for the both of you. So you'll both get a copy of that, post and email, so you've always got it there to refer back to. And if you have any questions about relationship counselling, it is a document that you can get information from to go and find those sources around you, I suppose. So that's probably enough from me for now. Is there any questions that you guys have about anything at all, whether it be relationship counselling, the actual wedding, my services? Any questions at all?
Not really much, but I think probably just on average, how long do you think it takes to organise our whole ceremony and all of that sort of stuff?
Yep. So, I mean, it really depends couple to couple. Some couples want a really in-depth, ritual rich ceremony. So, some couples will have 3 or 4 rituals that they want included. They'll want speeches, poems, readings from their parents, grandparents, uncles, aunties, and they'll have really long vows. So, these sorts of ceremonies take a little bit longer, obviously, to coordinate and structure. Whereas you guys are choosing a templated ceremony. So you do have that benefit of having some ideas and some key points already listed for you to refer back to, or to start as a starting point, I suppose. So, I mean, from other ceremonies that I've done from a template, can usually take maybe 1 to 3 months to get it really good and finalized. But we obviously want to communicate through that process. So if you want to make any changes, it's important to sit down as a couple, read through your ceremony. And if you think, hey, I want to include something about this time when I was younger, or let's include this funny story about ourselves, anything like that, it's probably the changes and the additions that take the most amount of time, because they need to be worded in a really nice way, sort of not just slapped in there and done, poorly. So I would say 1 to 3 months if you've got all of your vows and your stories sent to me. Usually takes me a few weeks to draft the ceremony. So I would say 1 to 3 months, but we can take longer if need be, obviously with busy work schedules. But yeah, I would say no quicker than a month.
So, how do we organise like all our clothing and stuff? So, like for me in general, like
Yep. So, I mean, the good thing about Celebrants is we do have lots of connections in your area with, I don't know if you've organised photographers or videographers, florists, cake makers, and obviously suits and bridal shops. So, is it more so in regards to you, Adam, or the groomsmen's clothing?
Yeah, more like probably the groomsmen. Like I'll probably just wear what I want to wear, but then how would I go? Do they like even just with colours and stuff? What do I do? I don't really have much of an idea.
Yeah, so basically, Adam, with your question about colours and themes, the good thing about Celebrants is we do have access to obviously florists, tailors, dressmakers, photographers, videographers. So we do have lots of contacts in the wedding field and industry. With your wedding party and their clothing, obviously you'll need to decide on a colour or some themes. Do you have a colour theme or a colour picked for the wedding that's going to be a prominent colour?
I really like say a teal sort of color, blue and green mixed together. I think that's just so it's just a nice color, I guess.
Yep. And neutrals with that, or
yeah, probably just do like whites and creams and stuff, I'd reckon, just to make it really pop.
Yeah, so I guess in my experience, what I've seen, Adam, with clothing is that the groom will often wear obviously the smartest looking attire. You might have a teal coloured tie, and then your groomsmen, they might be wearing, I don't know, say white or black suits with just a little touch of teal. So they might have like a teal handkerchief in their pocket, or a teal flower, something like that. So that is a bit of an idea to go off. Otherwise, I would just recommend looking on Pinterest, looking online, and that'll give you lots of ideas. But in regards to finding them something to wear, I mean, there's some clothing stores in Swan Hill close to you, so about half an hour away. There's Cruise Clothing, so you could always go there. But a lot of people obviously get their stuff online now, so that's probably what I would recommend, start looking.
Yeah.
Yep. Any other questions?
I guess just in relation to the actual ceremony.
Yeah.
So what am I thinking? So how does it actually run with you? Like, will you have sound system or something so everybody can hear you? Yeah, so sort of how does that work?
Yeah, so especially because I'm guessing the lake house, you want an outdoors wedding.
Yeah, preferably.
Yeah. So sound will be really important. If you're having any live music bands or something like that, I obviously tie in with them, but I do bring my own PA system. So I have a battery operated amplifier. I have a handheld microphone that'll be for you guys to say your vows, do anything like that. And I do have 2 other options of microphones, and I do offer it to my clients to pick which one they would prefer me to wear, because obviously I'll be in some of your photos. Personally, I prefer to wear the little microphone that just sort of sits on my clothing here, very similar to what's on reality TV shows. It just sort of sits somewhere in this vicinity, and that's got great sound pickup and really great amplification of sound to a really, really big audience. Obviously, you are only having around 50 to 60 guests, so we don't have to worry too much about sound needing to travel a really far distance. I think, especially if we keep it quite intimate, that everybody will be able to hear me clearly. But my husband does deal with most of my technology side of things, so he's a bit like my roadie in that regard. If there's any issues that he can foresee happening with the technology, we always have a backup plan. As long as there's some sort of power available, nothing should require too much extra precautions. If there's no power available, we can obviously have a discussion about how that works, but it's a battery operated amplifier and microphone. Everything's fully charged. But yeah, try not to stress too much about my side of things. That's probably more so for me to worry about than you guys, and I try to take that stress away from you a fair bit. But one thing to bear in mind is that depending on the day and the time of your wedding, we will need to fit in a rehearsal at some stage. So whether that is the night before, which is what a lot of couples do, the night before their actual wedding day. Otherwise, some people might do 2 days before. So are there any other questions from you guys moving forward, or?
I don't think so. I think that's about all for now.
Yeah. And look, if you do have any questions that pop up, feel free to send me through a message. I'll try and answer it as best I can. Otherwise, from here on out, obviously the deposit needs to be paid, so I can send you through the banking details for that. And then obviously once I've received that, we can start making progress on your ceremony. But probably the key thing you need to decide on is the date and the time. You've obviously got your venue picked, but yeah, date and time of your ceremony, so we can obviously include that into documentation. Deposit to be paid. Once both of those things have been decided, we can start working on your ceremony. And then just make sure you make a start on your vows and try and get the stories to me of how you met and that big piece of information, because that obviously helps me make a start on the ceremony structure. But that's basically it from me. Like I said, if you've got any questions, just send me a message or give me a call. And we'll organise another time for another Zoom, perhaps in about a month or 2, to see where you guys are at and what progress you've made.
Sounds good.
Perfect. All right. Well, I'll let you two go. Have a great night. It was lovely to speak to the both of you.
You too.
And we'll be in touch.
Thanks,
Thank
Jane.
you.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye. Bye.